Now, let's see how claims-based authentication works. Now, I'm not going to cover the basics of WIF in this video, but let me mention a very basic background. When a user identifies themselves to you, let's say you run into me at a bus stop in New Delhi, and I'm homeless and I'm begging for food over there, and I run into you, and we've met before. And I give you the story that, I got robbed or whatever, and but you recognize me. You recognize me. I'm about the same height, the same eyes, same hairstyle, same hair color, and maybe I'm talking about SharePoint. So you sort of know who I am. You can trust me. I've established my identity with you. In that process, what I've done is that I've presented you with undeniable claims about who I am. I've presented you with claims that you can trust. Right? And then I say, can you loan me, $5 so I can go eat, maybe 50 over there. So, with that many claims, some of you might be willing to loan me 50 rupees. But on the other hand, let's say if I said that, can you give me keys to your house? Then you'll be like, whoa, that's a little crazy. Then I'll basically would have to embellish my identity with further claims. I'll have to say that, and also convince you that, that I'm an undercover secret agent, and here is my identity. And if you don't give me your car keys or house keys, the world might end. And then you might consider loaning me your car keys after you're convinced that indeed I am who I am. So in that circumstance, what I've done is that I've asked for an elevated level of access, and I've augmented my claims, right? So remember that if I present you with, say, my driver's license or my passport, that is not a claim. That is not something that you supplied to me, right? The driver's license was supplied by somebody else. It is just that you trust whoever supplied that claim to you that allows you to trust my identity. So that is exactly how it works in computers as well. So let's talk about how this works in computers. Let's say you're the client here, and you request for a resource with SharePoint. And SharePoint says, sorry, you're not authenticated, right? So it'll tell you that you're not authenticated, but I trust these other IPSTSs, Identity Provider Security Token Services. In other words, I trust these other identity providers, so please go to them and establish your identity first. So you as the client say, okie dokie, and you go over to the IPSTS. By default, let's say this is your Kerberos AD identity, and you provide some sort of identification to the external entity, right? So here you would provide a username, password, or certificate, or anything, right? That's the whole key over here, that there can be many STSs that you can have a pre-established trust relationship with SharePoint, and different identity providers can ask for different credentials. So you can log in using either Facebook or Live ID or Twitter or a membership username, password, or anything, right? Anything. Live ID is certainly one of those. So you present your credentials to the trusted identity provider, which returns you a security token. Then with that security token, you make a service token request to the SharePoint STS. So SharePoint itself has an STS built in, which is implemented as a web service, right? And over here, the various claims are filled in for you, right? So things like your identity, your, if you're using forms-based identity, your roles, etc., all those get filled into a property on your iPrincipal, which is of data type claims principal. It's got a property in it called claims. So that collection is filled out for you over here. So when you log in after that, so you get a security token response using which you're able to request a resource from SharePoint. But see, the important thing here is that because you're using claims-based identities, and inside our .NET, whenever you log into any website, whenever you've authenticated yourself or identified yourself to any web application or any resource, you are an iPrincipal and iIdentity. And inside of Windows, that iPrincipal would be Windows principal, and in the case of claims-based identities, it would be claims principal, and it has a property in it called .claims. And .claims is filled by the claims provider here, and here you also have the option of augmenting claims if you wanted to, right? So you take this and you would stuff these, your claims will get stuffed in here, and using that, you're turned into an SP user object inside a SharePoint, and any custom piece of code here can check for these claims as well. So if you're in a certain role, just check for those claims, right? So with this background and theory behind this, again, let's do a quick overview again. You request for a resource, SharePoint says you're not authenticated. You go to an external, previously trusted identity provider, present your credentials, establish your identity, come back to SharePoint, provide the service token request here, which returns your security token request, using which you can access SharePoint resources. This is how claims-based authentication works inside of SharePoint. All right.